that the first of these strikes was against a CIA-backed group in central Syria. That group, known as the Eza Gathering in Hama province, was reportedly struck 18 times in the first 3 days of Russian strikes. The leader of another U.S. coalition-backed group called the 1st Coastal Division told the Journal his base was hit in northern Latakia province twice on October 2nd.
He's a former National Security Council official and former director of the State Department's policy planning staff. He's also on the U.S. point man on the Middle East peace process with Presidents George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton. Mr. Ambassador, thank you.
Nice to be with you.
Is this one way to look at it? Assad's in trouble. His government was on the verge, or at least had the potential to fall. We can't go prop him up because of our policy. If the Russians do prop him up, doesn't that prevent a vacuum, and might not that be maybe the worst case scenario?
Problem is that right now in Syria we're already seeing the worst case scenario. You know, you got 12 million people out of an original population of 21 million have been displaced. More than 4 million are in the neighboring areas. You're seeing a refugee crisis in Europe. Propping up Assad at this point just creates a magnet for more foreign jihadis to come there. What the Russians are doing it's not designed to stabilize things in Syria per se. What it's designed to do is to ensure that they have a position in Syria, number one. They contrast their position with us, that they stand by their friends no matter how odious. They want to create a situation where it's Assad versus ISIL. They destroy the non-ISIL opposition while we're attacking ISIL. And the net effect of that is that the Sunnis come to believe that we and the Russians together are declaring a war on Sunnis. If you want to defeat ISIL, you need Sunni tribes, Sunni states to discredit it. They aren't going to do that if it looks like we're even indirectly taking part in a war on the Sunnis. So I view what the Russians are doing as not just a challenge to us, but I see it as making the situation not only dramatically worse. I don't see how it stabilizes things, and I think it will prolong not only the war, but make any possibility of ever getting to a political process that much more difficult.
What are we supposed to do?
I think the key at this point would be, A, to make it clear that we're not going to play the Russian game. B, if you want to staunch the flow of refugees, you need to create a safe haven in the north. And the only way to do that is we should be prepared to do no-fly, but we should say to the Europeans, since you want to stop the refugees, you should join with us in terms of your aircraft playing a role in no-fly. We should say to the Turks who have wanted us to create this safe haven, you police the area on the ground. We should say to the Saudis and the Emiratis, you want us to do this as well. You finance the infrastructure for refugees so they have a place to go. And you make sure that all assistance goes only to that opposition that we're prepared to support. Then you can begin to create a safe haven. Then you can begin to change the ground rules in a way that the Russians and the Iranians will understand. Then they will see, if you want to have a political process, you're actually going to have to work with us to that end. Today they're not working with us.
Bye.